Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're putting on our consultant hats to look at something that represents a massive, absolute paradigm shift in scaling agency operations. We're talking about Claude's new updates, specifically these new app connectors. Up until recently, AI was mostly just a tool for answering questions or generating text in a vacuum. But this update, it shifts what this tool actually is. It's literally moving from a passive assistant to an active participant, right inside the very software your agency uses every single day.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to systematically break this down. First, we'll cover the end of copy-paste, then automating the creative suite, lowering the learning curve, manual versus automated workflows, and finally, we'll wrap up with the agency action plan.
Section 1, the end of copy-paste. This is where the old manual loop dies, and Claude starts taking real action.
To truly appreciate where we're going, we first have to understand the major bottleneck of where we've been. Think about the deeply frustrating reality of the old AI workflow. We can call it the browser loop. You open a tab, you ask a question, you wait, you copy the text, then you switch back to your primary software, paste it in, realize it's completely wrong, silently curse to yourself, and start the whole loop over again, right? When you're running an agency, that constant context switching isn't just a minor annoyance. It's a massive drain on your operational efficiency and a huge loss of billable time. And this brilliantly illustrates the shift. We're moving from that old manual loop to a new agent-based workflow where Claude actually reads, understands, and acts directly inside your applications in real time. Because of this, you actually need a new key performance indicator for your agency. Let's call it Scale Without Sweat. It measures your team's increase in creative output per hour without adding any new headcount. Claude handles the heavy lifting and the repetitive busy work, while you stay firmly in control as the creative director. Section 2, automating the creative suite. We're shifting focus to the deep, professional-grade tools here.
Look, it's one thing for an AI to help you draft a quick email or summarize a doc, but it's an entirely different ballgame when we shift to the professional-grade tools that actually run your agency. Claude now connects directly to heavyweights, and I mean heavyweights, like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, Ableton Live, and Autodesk Fusion. These aren't lightweight web apps. These are incredibly deep tools that people spend years, sometimes decades, mastering. The fact that Claude can now reach inside and interact with their complex file structures is just a monumental leap for standardizing your creative production. Let me walk you through a step-by-step process of what this actually looks like in practice. Imagine you're working in Photoshop, and you're staring at a project file with 500 unorganized layers that desperately need renaming to meet your agency's standardized file structure. Normally, that's a mind-numbing, tedious task that takes hours of clicking and typing. But with this automated workflow, the steps are so simple. 1, you open your massive project. 2, you describe your specific renaming logic to Claude. And 3, Claude executes the entire rename process automatically. Hours of manual, soul-crushing work reduced to instant execution, just like that. And the beauty is, this exact logic applies to virtually anything repetitive and rule-based across these platforms. In Premiere Pro, instead of just making simple cuts, Claude can actually help you build out comprehensive video editing workflows. In Autodesk Fusion, it assists with intricate design and engineering work. The underlying pattern is exactly the same. Claude reads what's happening inside the tool, understands the context of your project, and takes the appropriate action. It's a completely new way to manage creative tasks. Section 3, lowering the learning curve. This is all about how we democratize this tech. This is where we see the most profound impact on team scaling. It's about democratizing notoriously complex software for your broader agency team. To really get this, let's look at Blender. Blender is a wildly powerful 3D creation suite, but honestly, it involves intricate node setups, Python scripting, and dense scene management. The learning curve is ridiculously steep. It normally forces agencies to hire highly specialized, expensive talent for any 3D work. In fact, most people who try to learn it just give up within a few weeks because it's so overwhelming. But with the connector active, you can open a scene and simply describe what you want to change. Claude reads the entire scene. It can debug broken node setups that would normally take a beginner days to figure out. It can batch edit objects across your entire project. It can even write Python scripts to build brand new custom tools right inside Blender itself. You're not switching to a different app, copying code, and praying it works. Claude is right in there with you, executing complex technical tasks natively. So the crucial point is this quote right here. The barrier between I have an idea and I can build this just got a lot lower. If you've ever wanted to create 3D visuals, product renders, or complex animations for a client, but that technical learning curve stopped your team in their tracks, well, this changes the entire equation. 3D production just became accessible to a much, much larger group of people within your agency.
Section 4. Manual versus automated workflows. Let's look at the growing gap in operations.
Okay, this is the strategic business discussion we really need to have. As an agency lead, look closely at this automation timeline. If you start today, you build essential muscle memory. You learn how to prompt effectively within your specific software and identify which repetitive tasks are best handed off. If you do that today, in 6 months, your scale without sweat KPI is going to skyrocket. And in 12 months, you'll be so far ahead of your competitors who are still executing tasks manually, there's no way they'll be able to catch up. Building these workflow habits right now is absolutely non-negotiable.
It's very easy to look at new technology and adopt that "I'll figure this out eventually" mindset. But I strongly challenge that. The businesses that are moving on this right now aren't waiting for eventually. They are already actively building Claude into their daily workflows, their client deliverables, and their core operations. The gap between these early adopters and the agencies still relying on fully manual execution, it's growing wider every single day.
Section 5, the Agency Action Plan. Here's exactly how you start automating today.
Let's move to and see how this builds your exact blueprint, basically a daily checklist for managing creative tasks. Step 1, do a daily connector review. Ask yourself, what am I doing today that Claude can connect to? Step 2, identify just one repetitive workflow you're facing right now and run it through Claude. This is exactly how a complete newcomer can start their first automation project in under 10 minutes. Step 3, spend dedicated daily time pushing past old learning curves in specific apps like Photoshop or Premiere. And 4, keep an eye on new connector updates daily because this is just the foundation of what's coming.
I really want to emphasize the number 20 here. Dedicating just 20 minutes to actually using the connector for a repetitive task in your workflow will teach you vastly more than spending an hour reading about it. Action beats theory every single time when it comes to standardizing creative production. Just 20 minutes is literally all it takes to see the potential for yourself.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core question it asks. The question isn't whether Claude's new ability to take action inside your creative software is impressive, because it undeniably is a massive shift in what AI does. The real question is, are you going to use it? Will you standardize your agency operations today, or are you going to let the competition build that operational advantage first? The tools are here. It's time to put them to work. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you, go start your first 10-minute automation project today.